Greetings one and all, I'm Red Angel, and welcome to my analysis of The Babadook, my first movie analysis. The Babadook was rated R in theaters, so the content of this video will be on par with that. Expect movie clips with content like swearing, vomiting, and dark thematic elements. I'll be spoiling the entirety of the film here, so keep that in mind. Let's begin, shall we? In 2014, The Babadook was released to critical acclaim, yet low ticket sales. It was one of those few rare horror films that required a second viewing to get a full grasp of it and all the meaning it has. Our main character Amelia has just lost her husband and has to deal with a son with behavioral problems. One day she reads him a mysterious book called The Babadook, and strange things start happening all around her house, all of which involving the titular creature. The Babadook is an interesting beast to say the least, or rather an interesting monster. With its wild hair, fancy top hat, and growling voice, it seems to be the pinnacle of a boogeyman that'd scare children. It does that very well, judging by Samuel's terrified reaction to the mere mention of the beast after he's read the cursed book. But there's a lot more to the Babadook than just a scary creature that goes bump in the night. The Babadook is a direct representation of Amelia's depression about her husband's death, her growing intolerance for her son's behavior, and her self-loathing for allowing all this to happen to herself. Amelia is shown to be very withdrawn. This was possibly caused by her husband's death, or it could have been her son's behavior, or she could be just naturally shy. Whatever the reason, her isolating herself with her son isn't doing her psyche any favors, since he clearly relies on her for nearly everything that he does. He's convinced something is going to happen to her just like it did his father, and he decides to respond to this by making a multitude of weapons that make Kevin McAllister jealous. This of course doesn't make it easy for Amelia, who's desperately trying to figure out how to make her son fit in with the rest of society while balancing a job to keep him in the house that he grew up in. Samuel doesn't make it easier on her by doing things like this.
No one wants you.
What did you do?
She said I didn't have a dad. She kept saying it.
Is she all right? Stay here and look after the children. Do you want another one to get hurt?
Mummy! She wouldn't believe me! Mummy! Mummy! Mummy!
Wake up! Just be normal! There is no Babadook!
Amelia doesn't seem to have any real control over Samuel, though not for lack of trying. We see her doing things like reading books to him to try to get him to sleep, allowing him to sleep in her bed every night, and actually keeping said weapons in the house as long as he doesn't use them. She's trying to allow him to do what he wants to keep him sated while she's trying to figure out how to handle him. This method obviously isn't working, considering he brought a crossbow to school, causing his mother to withdraw him. The head of the school himself has said that Samuel has considerable behavioral issues, most of which are not helped by his mother's denial of them. While it's good to be defensive of your child against those who may bring them harm, Amelia tries to fix Samuel's mental problems by just continuing to do what she's been doing, which isn't helping either of them. While Amelia was at the end of her rope before, this is what starts to push her over the edge, and she doesn't quite know what to do with him anymore. She tries to do more, but she finds herself tired and unable to fully quell his feelings. A common symptom of clinical depression is not wanting to get out of bed and being exhausted even though you don't know why, and while her son's behavior certainly isn't helping matters, it's clear to see that it's more than just simple tiredness by how she moves and interacts with others. Samuel's anxiety about the Babadook doesn't make things easier. Samuel already had some form of anxiety prior to this, with his night terrors and high amounts of worry about monsters under his bed to the point where he can't sleep without his mother. After reading the Babadook, this just makes it worse, especially when he thinks that the monster is out to get him and his mother specifically. He starts obsessing over the creature, and no matter what Amelia tells him, he keeps believing in it. Amelia destroys the book, trying to soothe her son's worries, but then it comes back and we find out that it's no longer just Samuel that starts believing that something may be wrong. I don't think that book was meant for Samuel. In the scene, it mentions that the more Amelia denies it, the stronger it gets, which is indeed what happens. We continuously see the Babadook growing in strength, appearing more frequently, even if it's just silently, and Amelia is starting to lose her grip on reality, seemingly seeing it everywhere. What makes matters interesting is the fact that we as viewers can not only see the Babadook when Amelia sees it, but even in the beginning of the film where there are small things moving in the background or reflections. The Babadook appears to always be with Amelia, whether she knows it or not, which comes into play when she finally lets it in. The way the film treats Amelia's problems is how a lot of the population treats mental health, acting as though there isn't anything wrong when something actually is wrong. People will ignore any sort of warning signs that people put off. Amelia herself denies that there's anything wrong with her, and at first denied that there was anything wrong with her son until the episode in the car proved otherwise. Other than Amelia, the doctor is the only one in the film who's concerned for the boy's mental health, and while he does write it off as anxiety, he's willing to prescribe him with sleeping pills to get him through the night and give his mother a more restful night's sleep. Australia's healthcare system apparently works a lot faster than anyone else's because the doctor gives Amelia the pills immediately, and after giving them to Samuel, he's out like a light. The majority of this was the build-up to the Babadook's possession of Amelia, but rather than a possession, they make it so the Babadook approaches Amelia as someone familiar, her husband, which is part of why she let him in. This is where all the conflict up until this point is brought to a head, because Amelia becomes possessed by the Babadook, or rather, what the Babadook actually is. The Babadook pushes her over that careful precipice that she situated herself on, and while its actions entirely influenced her own, she was the reason it was that strong in the first place. From there, she lets everything out on her child, her hatred, her sadness, and her bitterness that he wasn't the one who died in the car accident that fateful day. It's a direct response to not only the Babadook's possession, but also of her own inner turmoil that she's been feeling for months.
You little pig. 6 years old and you're still wetting yourself. You don't know how many times I wished it was you, not him, that died.
I just want you to be happy.
I just want you to be happy. Sometimes I just want to smash your head against a brick wall until your fucking brains pop out.
You're not my mother.
What did you say?
I said you're not my mother.
I am your mother!
Samuel uses all of his tricks in order to attack and later restrain his mother, who he tries to snap out of her possession, stating, "I know you don't love me, but I love you," which, after nearly strangling the boy, snaps Amelia out of it. But the fight isn't over. Amelia is forced to confront the Babadook face to face, which ignites her maternal instincts, screaming at the Babadook at the top of her lungs. She refuses to let the Babadook take her son, which means she also refuses to let sadness and depression overcome her again. The Babadook itself isn't defeated by violence, but by a mother's will to protect her son, and a will to recover from the tragedy she faced some time ago. What cements the Babadook as more of a metaphor for her feelings and depression than as a monster that just spawned into existence is the fact that near the end of the film, the Babadook isn't gone. It doesn't explode and die. Amelia is seen feeding it. The beast itself couldn't be killed, but it's always there, lurking in the shadows, but as long as Amelia recognizes that she has a problem, she will remain healthy and be able to provide for her son. It's just a matter of keeping it fed.